Hey, I better go to my comments, better I? So I can say, hey, Catherine. I'm not sure who else is here because they've not commented yet. Northside Fork. Hello, mate. How's Victoria? All right. Well, for everybody that is here, this is Lisa. She's awesome. She's got her own YouTube channel, which I have pinned a link to at the top of the chat, and you can see here I've popped. Oh, look at that. Oh, my God. Nerd Report's here. Hey, Lewis. Lisa's going to recognise any of her regulars when they pop in as well. So this is a first for Lisa and I. We've spoken before, but never done a live together.
No,
and
I mean you've popped on my show like a few, but not like an official.
Just sort of a pop in.
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Deb, Kyle, hello. So yeah, we decided today, both Lisa and I, to talk about near-death experiences. We haven't had one. You haven't had one, have you, Lisa?
No.
No, thank goodness. Not yet, anyway. There's always room. But and so after you listen to Lisa and I have a chat, just remember to go and check out her channel. It is really great. Hey, Lisa, why don't you tell anyone that there's people in here that do know you, but there's some people who do not. Hi, Joe. So tell them what you do on your channel, which, by the way, everybody, I love going on to Lisa School. But anyway, tell them, Lisa, what do you do?
It's kind of similar to your channel. Basically, I pretty much I talk all things spooky, unexplained, strange and unusual, UFOs, aliens. I go into cults, do a little bit of true crime sometimes because I do like serial killers. I did a show on Jack the Ripper, so I do like I kind of go that way, but I've always said that horror is usually hand in hand with true crime a little bit, so I kind of like I kind of just sprinkled it in a little bit, but pretty much kind of like yours, but I haven't done any investigations. I know you have investigations on yours, but
look, I'll tell you now, investigations are overrated, but they're fun. They are fun. Thanks for letting me know that, Dr. Deb, but that's okay. If people want to listen to Crow and Side Eye Guy, they're more than welcome to. I don't care. Hey, Ian. Hello, Ian. Ian is from England.
Oh, cool. Hey.
And Joe has a channel too, Entity 7 Paranormal. He does a lot of investigating, Lisa. But yeah, I love Lisa's channel, and we are very similar in that I often find that in doing, like, because I do a lot of research into haunted urban legends as well. I've listened to you talk about all sorts of urban legends, but I often find the urban legends come from the origins of a crime.
Yes.
And then I find myself going down the true crime thing, which is, I think, what happens with you. You sort of go, oh, that's linked to that. And then, so I think
even when you're looking at, like, I did a show on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the story behind it. It went down, it had a little true crime element in it. So it's kind of like, I always felt like horror was kind of hand in hand with true crime.
Yeah. Hang on. Someone's complaining my audio is cutting out, which tells me that it's on my, where are we? Microphone. I'll try a different microphone, guys, and see what happens. I've got two, but I've been having trouble with that later. Let me know, guys, if it keeps doing it. How's that going, Ian? Ian's the one who complained about it cutting out. Can you hear me? Am I cutting out? Comments, please. Just let me know. I can go back and forward. Generally, I don't have any trouble with that one.
I know how you feel. I've had that trouble before too.
Very annoying. And especially when you can't work out why.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I basically had to change the cable.
Yeah, I'm thinking that could be an issue. It might be something with the back of my computer where you plug it all into. Thank you, Joanne, for letting me know. I like that last name, Miranda. Oh, that's where the Miranda rights. Isn't that what you call them when you read someone their
Yes.
Miranda rights?
Yes.
There you go. Oh, thanks, Dr. Deb. Excellent. Good. Yeah, so Lisa and I decided, since we're very, very, very alike with what we do, we should do a live together and sort of a crossover. A crossover. And Lewis, bless his cotton socks. Another channel I want to plug before Lisa and I get into it. I'm just giving people enough time to pop in. Hi, Dee. Hi, Carol. Lewis from the Nerd Report and Nerd Report Daily. He has a channel, and Lisa's very familiar with Lewis, of course. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So you know more. But yeah, Lewis is absolutely awesome. He's got a channel. Lewis covers just about everything from pop culture all the way down, although that's probably Nuke the Fridge, isn't it? His older channel. I'm not sure, but he'll cover everything. Whatever's in the news, Lewis will talk about it generally. And aliens,
Cult. Lately it's
cults like the Scientologists. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes he just sees a car chase and he'll comment on the car chase, and we all get in and comment on car chases. He does. What else does he do, Lisa? He does everything. He does a lot of stuff. Talks to movie stars sometimes.
Yeah, he'll review a movie. Depends on because he was talking about J-Lo, and of course we know J-Lo was in that Netflix Atlas, so he brought that up to see what his thoughts of that Netflix film was. He did that as well, so he does a little bit of everything.
Before we'll get stuck into our subject in a second. I think I've given people more than enough time to pop in, but I'll just pop the Nerd Report up as well. And then if you go to the Nerd Report, there's links to everyone. I'm shocking at getting links. And I know my good old moderator. Oh, why won't it show me, Lisa? Lisa, have you got it? Oh, hang on, you might not be able to. Oh, there it is. It's all right. I found it. No, I haven't.
I can add it, but then I gotta.
I have. It's just showing me. So instead of showing me Lewis's channel, it's just showing me all of his videos. But I've got it now. I'm going to put it in the chat. Copy and paste. Nerd Report. There we go. I did it. Hi, Antoine. I did it. So go check out Lewis's channel as well. I do. I find a lot of comfort watching Lewis sometimes whenever I'm in a funky mood. But he's on all the time. It's always something popping up. All right. So as I say, Lisa and I today wanted to talk about near-death experiences. We thought that was a pretty good subject, and it was one I was looking into anyway, because I've been going down different avenues of ways to, when I do get out and about to investigate again, I wanted to look more into these near-death experiences and what people say they experience, and try and work out, well, what would be a good way? Is there a way to, it's kind of hard for me to explain, but is there a way to cross-reference what happens to people when they die and in some way work out what was happening and communicate? But that's for me because, that's how I think. But I did, Lisa's looked into it as well. She's got a couple of articles that she'll be able to read out for us, no doubt. And I went down the rabbit hole. I'll just show you the picture of this fellow. This fellow here is Peter Fenwick. He is a neuropsychiatrist, and he is another big word. He's a really clever professor, okay? But he's a neuropsychologist. And this gentleman here has gone down the path of talking to lots and lots of people. He did it 2 different ways. He started out originally by getting 1,000 people stated that they had near-death experiences. So he broke that 1,000 down into groups of what sort of experiences they had, and similar tunnel type thing. You know how you go down the tunnel? That's a lot of it. Had similar things like that. And then he decided later on, and I'll put a link when we finish this, I will put a link in the description to this particular video here that I've got the picture up of, where he talks about how they went into nursing homes and hospice and they weren't allowed to talk to the people that were actually dying, right? Because that was seen as possibly something a little bit not
like
right to do. But they spoke, yeah. So they spoke to the carers, the people that were there with them, like the ones that were there present when these people were dying, and he got a lot of answers from that. But so I will put a link to that particular video for those of you who are interested to go listen to his stories. It's quite fascinating. But what did you come across, Lisa? I mean, I've got more to talk about, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But what did you come across in
I kind of knew what near-death experience was, but I just wanted to read to, you know, like refresh my memory. And one thing I did find out, they said that there's some drugs that do cause similar symptoms, or, you know, similar I don't know how you call it,
the lights
effects.
and the like the
yeah, the lights, because they said they've seen lights, they've the tunnel, out of body experience, which makes sense because some of those drugs make you go out of your body. So, but that was one thing I would have never thought. Though I know that some drugs are hallucinogens, but I just never, I wouldn't have connected the two.
Well, I know there's that, I can't think of what it's called. Someone in the chat starts with, I'm pretty sure it starts with D. There's a funny drug that you can go to, like South America or all these funny places, and take it. You've got to take it in the presence of people who can watch you while you do it, but it does give you very weird out of body type experiences. So yeah, you're right, there are some drugs. The other thing that now, what was the name of the report I've got notes, people. There was a paper written called the Bristol theory, where they said that when people see the tunnel at death, it's due to the breakdown of the visual cortex, and it can create that. To that doctor, Peter Fenwick, he says he kind of agrees with that because it's correct, but his question was that when people are, like, so the near death, so people have died, seen the tunnel, come back to talk about it. He said it doesn't explain, it explains the tunnel perhaps and seeing the lights, but how does it explain consciousness? Because once your visual cortex starts to break down, dead, you're no longer conscious. So how does it explain people saying that they've come up out of their body, looked down on their body, seen people working on them to keep them alive? They've been able to retell stories of what even people were talking about while trying to bring this person back to life. So that's the part that he says, although consciousness, he says it's the consciousness of the person, the fact that they're able to remember what's happened, see things that they shouldn't be seeing, and come back to talk about it. So it's you know, it's really weird. It's super weird. But someone said mushrooms. Oh, I'm sure mushrooms. I'm sure look, you know, there's all sorts of things that can cause you to hallucinate, but it's a different thing when the doctor has pronounced, like, they're flatlined, they're dead, like, let's get them back. It's a very different thing to come back from death, clinically, like clinical death, and say, hey, I saw you working on me. I saw you using that particular tool. These are the things I saw. How else can I prove to you? Because there was a story of a lady who was being operated on. They had to, now let me remember, it was Mr. Fenwick who told the story. The lady had I want to say stroke. There was a clot in her brain, and there is a procedure where you cool the body down and you drain the brain of blood as much as you can to get the clot out, right? So that was the operation that this lady was having. So they use a special little saw and a tool. Now, this lady would not have seen these tools. And I can tell you 100%, when you go into theatre, all the tools that are used on you for the operation, there is no way you're going to see them. You're not. I've been in theatre. You keep all that stuff away until the person's knocked out, right? So this lady was actually able to come back from death. She died on the table. They brought her back. And she said, you were all rushing around. I was above my body. She said you had a funny little tool, and she explained what it was. She told them what was happening to her. And it was correct. Everything she stated. So how did she know that? Like, how did she know that when she's dead? Like, how did she see all that stuff? So stories like that really get into, like, how does that happen? Like, how is that possible? But like, she came back. So to say that someone is just imagining it, like drugs is a bit different. Like, if you can, I think that would be all
like a
like crazy
chemical
stuff.
reaction. Like the way
Yeah,
your body is
yeah.
reacting to it.
Although it might create the same. And in advance, everybody that doesn't know, I have a Rottweiler, and she's asleep on the floor behind me, and she snores really, really loudly. So I can guarantee it's not me farting or snoring myself. Okay, and over asleep here is my little mate.
Aww.
He just sleeps, so he's not the noisy one. Okay, it's just a but yeah, so tons and tons of stories. And I'm just trying to think. There was I've also got
Well, just put
when
it
I
in like real quick, put it in perspective. Like, how can you imagine being in that position and seeing yourself being operated on? Like, I don't know if it was me, that would that would freak me out a little bit.
exactly, like, I mean, I've had plenty of operations. I've been knocked out more times than Muhammad Ali wasn't knocked out, was he? Not, I don't even think he was. I've been knocked out tons. Okay, and I can tell you, the only thing I ever remember from an operation is actually being wheeled in, having the more chitter chatter until I'm asleep. I've never had, obviously, anything to do with being able to see what's going on while I'm out. So if you're, and all these people have died, like, that's what has happened to these people. They've been on the table, they've been pronounced dead, and the doctors, nurses, whatever, are working really hard on bringing them back to life. So there's no medical way to explain that. So what is it? So what happens to us? So is it our energy, us, our consciousness, like, and that's where it gets really connective, like, our consciousness, is it separate to our actual body? So although our consciousness is in us with our energy, when we die, and that was Fenwick's thing, what happens to the consciousness? So why is it that when we die, our consciousness still maintains these, what it's seeing, and can remember going down a tunnel
or
into
being lifted up.
usually into a garden, apparently, or being lifted up and floating. And most of them float, like, it's a feeling of floating towards this warm, welcoming light. Most of them, when they get there, really back, or there's someone there that says, no, no, no. yes, we would love to have you here, but it's not your time yet. You need to go back. You've still got stuff to do. So he talked about all of that, and then they do come back, and then they wake up and they go, "Oh my God, this happened to me." And in the past, but there's too much of it to happen and not be. You can't medically explain it.
No, there's no explanation to that at all.
No. And hang on, what's Dr. Deb say? Up to being more sensitive to that. Well, yeah, that's a possibility. I have to say, have you ever had an operation, Lisa, where you've gotten knocked out with anaesthetic?
No, I have never.
Oh,
I'm going to knock on wood. I have escaped that so far.
I wonder if Lewis has. This is my experience because as I say, I've been knocked out plenty of times, and when you get knocked out, so once it gets to the point, and anyone who has been will know exactly what I'm saying. Is it cutting in and out again? Oh dear. All right. Sorry. I'll swap it again. All right. I'm just going to swap.
You know what I always say?
I'll swap.
I say it's my studio ghost messing with my equipment.
Yeah, probably.
So
Yeah.
my studio ghost
All
probably
right.
went to your studio.
Yeah. Gee, thanks, Lisa. All right. Oh, hey, Wendy. Hello, Wendy. Yeah, so when you get knocked out, obviously they give you a nice little drug beforehand, which I generally say, please don't give it to me. All right, so there is a drug, a pre-drug. So before you go in, and the kind that they generally use is called midazolam. Okay, they'll give you a little injection into your cannula, and midazolam breaks down any barrier you have to being, like, it just makes you really talkative, breaks down your inhibitions. So you can be a little cheeky with the staff. And I have seen it. I don't know if I do it, but I probably do. So you're quite relaxed, right? You're quite relaxed. And then when you finally go in to get knocked out, again, you'll still be chatty. And the anaesthetist will talk to you, and sometimes they're cheeky and they don't even tell you. That's happened to me once. I don't even know. But where I'm getting to, hi, Carol.
Carol, what's up?
When you're feeling that feeling of going under is one of, there's absolutely no control. You can feel yourself. It's like I can't quite express the word, but it's sort of like a going backwards. You feel like you're sort of being drawn out and going backwards, and everything fades to black, and that's all you remember. You don't remember anything else except for when they wake you up. And I never really like being woken up. I always go, let me sleep. It's the best sleep you ever had. But I'm wondering that feeling of letting go, that's what it is. It's like it's not in your control. So you just relax and you feel yourself going. And I sometimes wonder if that is what the beginnings of death feel like, because in some instances that's what's happening to you, really. Like you're being put under to the point where your brain's not going to control anything anymore. So I wonder if that's like what it feels like as you die. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like that,
it does.
And it's an absolute wonderful. I love it. A lot of people don't like being put to sleep, but I just love it. What's Mitch say? When I had knee surgery, let's just both of the pretty nurses were very understanding of my actions. That's the thing. A lot of people don't like to lose control, but I can tell you now, sometimes, especially when you know you're in good hands, it's a great feeling. Because I don't know what Lisa's like. I'm assuming Lisa's a busy little bee as well, but I know that I do so much. Like, I'm always on the go. I'm always stressing out, fixing things for people, doing stuff. And it's just like the best thing because I have no control. It's just like,
And
give into it,
I
just
don't
go.
have to worry about anything. I
That's
pro
right.
I'm kinda like you, I'm, like, all over the place, I like to move, and
Yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I could see how that experience is.
exactly. Hey, Jonathan. Hello. Um, so yeah, so each to their own, but I'm particular. So I'm looking forward to my operation next week, guys. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be out for 45 minutes. So at least I know I'll get 45 minutes of really good solid sleep.
That that 45 minutes is better than nothing.
It is. So, and the other thing too that was interesting to me, and interrupt me if you've got something on this, because I know you've looked at your uh, articles. But the I was looking into other people that had near death experiences that people might know. Look, there's a few celebrities, but most of them were talking about, like, Jeremy Renner when he got caught under his tractor and nearly died. Um, he didn't die, thankfully, so he had no near-death experiences. Just that his experience was nearly death, like he nearly died.
Yeah,
Graham Hancock, who does Graham Hancock is a journalist slash. He goes, what's the name of that place? Ancient ruins and stuff. He goes to Micha Puchu, or anyway. But he said he had an electric shock when he was a teenager, and it should have killed him. And he remembers being thrown out. That's how it felt, thrown out of his body. And he was just a teenager, and he looked at himself on the floor, and then next minute, boom, he was back in his body. So different people have had these near-death experiences, and Dr. Fenwick said that also it depends on countries. Sometimes countries and regions, they too have near-death experiences, but depending on their cultural beliefs or their system, it's often different as how they get to the other side for the near-death experience. He said, for example, people in India are often met and greeted by their gods, but it's all very similar. They still get to the other side in a place of beauty before they come back. So I wonder sometimes if that's actually within our consciousness. So for me, if something were done to me, I think I'd be really happy if I saw my son or my mum or my grandma come to get me. For some people that are very deep into their religion, perhaps they would like it if Jesus came and held their hand. But ultimately, whoever it is, whenever they get to the other side, it's a place of complete love, beauty, and
peace,
they don't want to come back. Yeah, peace.
peace.
They just don't want to come back. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't want to have a near death experience unless I know I can come back and I'll be okay. Like, I'm happy to just go visit.
But I think in a way,
I'm happy to just go.
if we had a near death experience and we saw, say, you saw your son or I saw my mom and dad, I think I'd be a little sad
Yeah.
to come back, but I would probably look at it. I mean, looking at it now, I'd probably be sad, but if I experienced that, I'd probably feel at peace. So it'd probably be a different story after if it happened. But looking at it now, I would think I would be sad in a way to come back.
Yes. Yes, and I think so too. And a few people had been interviewed and spoken to about that. Again, by this, it's Mr. Fenwick or Dr. Fenwick that I find fascinating because he has done so much. There's other people too that have done it, gone into speaking to people, interviewing people after their near-death experience. But just some of the things, like, I think too, I really have to be reminded if I got to the other side and saw my son and saw my pets, because I still think our pets go
Oh,
there,
I agree.
I'd still be thinking, I don't know, this is so peaceful. Do I really have to go back to all that stress? But then I'd think, hopefully, someone there would remind me, hey, if you don't go back, they're going to be lost for a little while without you. Go back. sort things out, you can always come back later. But I think
or
I would.
it's not your time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I did miss someone told me. Here we go. Dee says I had an epidural for my last surgery. Lungs too crap, but that was more scary. I was so nervous knowing the slight danger, but I fell asleep, woke up not feeling legs, very freaky. Oh, well, that's the epidural. Yeah, I've had 2 epidurals. It is weird when you can't move. And let me see. Dr. Deb. What's that? Dr. Deb, yeah, they don't want you giggling and moving around. I'm not a fan of nitrous. I have had that gas. Have you ever had that gas?
No,
Probably
I
not.
escaped that too.
I'm telling you, it is a little bit. It is, and my daughter, who was petrified of needles and like it really relaxes you. And I did see.
I've
What did
seen
Ian say?
but I've never.
No, no. Yeah, well, I wonder too, which is into a sort of a different subject altogether. So, but I do wonder sometimes if when you do die, and when you get to the other side, frankly, if someone said you can go back and do it all again, I'd say, oh shit, no, please, no.
Yeah, but
Once was enough.
but
Thank you.
they had brought up Buddhism, but Buddhism believes what you do in this life can affect you in the next. You don't necessarily return as yourself. You could return as a you could be a bug. You could return as
You can come
funny
back
as
as
it
a bug.
sounds, you could return as a bug. That's why they always treat everything with respect and harmony, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
I started. That's why. Yeah, that's why I don't kill spiders. I'll catch them and put them outside. And yeah, I try to be very kind to all little animals, even the ones that like. Sometimes, look, I do have to kill a bug, especially if it's a wasp and it's in my garden and it's going to bite me.
Something poisonous. That's my thing.
But I still don't. Yeah, yeah. Like, but then snakes are poisonous, and I wouldn't kill a snake.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I just find someone. So it's kind of funny, but yeah, that's what the Buddhists believe. Yeah, be kind to everything because you never know in your next adventure on the planet, you may well come back as something that you have harmed in the past, so that you can feel what they felt. And that was another interesting thing. Documented for quite a few people that when you die, not everybody experiences apparently the rerun of your life, but some people do. And apparently when they see their life played out in front of them, they don't see it as a movie of their past events. They feel it from the perspective of the other person. So if in your lifetime you've harmed somebody, hurt someone's feelings, all that sort of thing, in rewatching your life, you feel the pain of the people that you harmed or hurt. And I thought, you know what? That's a really good thing for murderers.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Or someone that's
Yeah,
done.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, but the people who do come back from that apparently come back very changed. I did watch a TED talk on a gentleman who used to be a cop, and he also taught at a university. I'll find the link to that too, and I'll pop it in the description later. And he told the story of how he died, and he saw his life rerun, and he saw different things, and he went to the other side. He was told to come back, etc. He didn't want to come back, so he was fighting it. And when he got back, they said they really did have trouble resuscitating him. It was like he was fighting them at every go. And he said, I didn't want to come back.
Wow.
And he said he changed. Actually affected his marriage, and he ended up getting divorced because his take on everything was very, very different after coming back and seeing what he had seen on the other side. And that does apparently, that is another thing that can happen to people that have had the near-death experiences. They do come back changed.
Does it change their personality or just change their outlook?
Outlook. So he, for example, said he was agnostic, didn't believe in God or anything like that. And he said, but when he come back, it wasn't so much God that he believed in, but definitely a higher, like, what was that? How did he see people that he loved on the other side? How did he have these conversations? How was it that he was conscious in this and felt and knew what it was on the other side? So he said, I just know that I'm not worried about dying again in the future. He said, I just know it's a new existence, it's a new plane. And I thought, wow, So, and I must admit, after a lot of, of a long time being into all this sort of thing and reading all this sort of stuff about near death or, ghosts, and I kind of think there has to be something else. We'd be silly to think that we just, some people just do believe you die, you're dead, that's it. You're here on the planet, that's it. When you die, you're dead. Maybe some people do die and they're just dead. Maybe not everybody gets to go to the other side. Who knows? And we're not going to know till we get to the other side.
Or maybe they're stuck
But
in
I'm
between
excited.
planes.
Yeah. Yeah, and purgatory.
Yeah.
Purgatory. So I don't want to be stuck in purgatory. How boring. That means I could be a ghost. Maybe you can pick. I think if I die, I would like to just be at peace, but then again, there's certain people on the planet that I would love to mess with for just a little while.
I think there's a lot of people that would like to do that because I've asked that question before, and I was like, if you when you die, or if you die, like, who would you want if you had the chance for a little bit, and if you who would you want to haunt or mess around with?
Wendy just says she'll pray me out of purgatory. I don't know. Maybe purgatory's interesting. There'd be a lot of a-holes there.
you might be there with your popcorn. You'll be like, oh, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Look, over there. Look, there's I don't know. I kind of see I see death now as I'm not scared of it at all. I figure if my son went before me, he was brave enough to die, and he's over there doing something fun, I'm sure. And I figure, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And the amount of times also that I have been present as a nurse when people have passed away while I'm there, the amount of times I see joy in their faces when they are talking to their loved ones in the room, but their loved ones aren't there. You know what I mean? So they've already started the transition to go to the other side, and they're being greeted by their family members. That is also that's a dying thing.
Oh,
so those
I definitely believe in that, though. I definitely know that that happens to people right before they pass, that they see a loved one. I think it did happen. I never told my stepmom, but I think it did happen when my dad was it was probably about 2 weeks before he passed, but my stepmom had said that he had called my stepmom by my mom's name. And I started thinking about that, and I was like, wait a minute. I think my dad really did see my mom, and he wasn't mistaking my stepmom as my mom.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I've changed my microphone again, Wendy. Tell me if this
You may just need to turn your computer off and on. Sometimes that works too.
Well, I rebooted it before I got on, so I don't know. It's giving me the crap. I hope it's not interfering too much, everybody. And sometimes I noted sometimes I can change the settings on this, and then I go in still using the wrong one. Stupid computers. I know I've told people that have been in my chats before, I've told this story before. When I was a little girl, my grandpa was dying from cancer, and I would go to visit him in the hospital after school every day. magazine. I don't know if they still make that in America, do they? Tiger Beat. I was reading, pop
No.
culture magazine. Yeah, probably long gone. But I was reading my Tiger Beat magazine, and I heard my grandpa. Now, my grandpa used to call my grandma Mum. Okay, so I'm there flicking through my magazine, and I hear my grandpa say Mum, and I've looked up to the doorway expecting to see my grandma walk in, and I'm like, oh. And I look over at Grandpa, and he's awake, and he's looking towards the end of his bed, and he said it again, Mum. And I said, but Grandpa, Nana's not here. Grandpa, Nana's not here. Do you want her? And he goes, no. He said, my mum's here. Now, as a young girl, I would often hear my aunts, my grandparents and stuff, you hear grown-up talk, and some of the talk was that you see people that you love before you die. So I thought, and my grandpa was very close to his mother. And I've gone straight away, I've looked at my grandpa and stood up and grabbed his hand and said, Grandpa, no. And then I've looked at the end of the bed and I said, go away. He's not ready yet. I couldn't see anything, but I'm like, no, Grandpa, no. And I said, squeeze my hand, take my energy, Grandpa, I'm saying to him. And anyway, eventually he looked at me and I said, well, you can't. And I said, just, and I spoke to him for a minute and I sat back down. And then it was time for me to leave. And I said, Grandpa, I've got to go home for dinner, but I'll be back tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. And I gave him a kiss on the cheek and he looked at me and squeezed my hand. He said, I won't see you tomorrow, darling. And I said, oh, don't be silly. Of course you will. But he was right. I didn't. He passed away later on that night. Early hours of the morning, actually. But yeah,
wow.
he passed away. So see, I didn't see anything at the end of the bed, but he certainly did. And I have seen that with a hell of a lot of people I've looked after. They'll be talking to somebody out loud. Or one lady I was looking after, I came in and she said, I just saw my brother. And I knew she hadn't had any visitors. And I thought, oh, did he? And I said, did he come while I was on my break? And she said, oh, no, he's been in and out all day. And I was like,
you're like, I haven't seen him.
and then it dawned on me. Yeah. Then it dawned on me and I went back out to Nurse's Station. I said, hey, is anybody else? And yeah, they said, we've called her family. And that, generally speaking, when someone starts to say they can see their loved ones, that they're being visited by their mum or whoever it is that they really love and want to have come, on average, 24 hours tops, and they're probably going to go. That's what it was for me when I was working. So there's a hell of a lot of things that are they just are. Like it just happens. And I don't care if you're religious.
It's just something that happens. You could.
Yeah, it's just something that happens. And I have seen interviews with people that have come back from near-death experiences and said they've been to hell. And I think, well, gosh, what have you done? Crikey. But those stories are rare unless people don't talk about it. So I don't know.
I don't think I would talk about that.
No.
That would be too scary to talk about.
My wife, okay, hang on. What dreams come? It's so deep. Soul is trapped halfway. Yeah. Well, I don't know what I think in regard to that. Apparently, it's still to do that to yourself is still a big no. According to Mr. Fenwick, he's actually he discussed that and he said it's a no, but it's not a stay out.
I know on the religious side, if you're like super religious, it is no, but
Yeah.
on a spiritual side, I don't know. I don't know how you would take that. I would think that my belief is if you die tragically, you won't be at peace. So I feel like if that's kind of dying, that's kind of where maybe you'll be at peace because maybe you accepted your, what had happened. But I feel like maybe sometimes there's things that are left open, so maybe that person won't be able to
Mm.
rest in the afterlife. But
Yeah. And I think too that when someone does that to themselves, they're at such a point in their life that if that is the only answer that they can come up with to stop the pain of living, as much as it destroys those of us that are left to pick up the pieces, that has been the poor bugger's only answer. And therefore, why would they be chastised for that on the other side? Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I
Like, if it's all love, I think whatever greets them on the other side is like, oh my God, I wish you hadn't done that, but come here.
yeah,
We love you.
that's how I
Like it.
feel. I don't feel like it's something bad, because when that person is in such a dark place that they can't
Mm.
come out of it, and maybe that is their, I mean, I hate to say it, but maybe that is their peace. And
That yeah. So and it's us that are the living that are left with
answers the answers and the
and
questions.
the grief, like the
Yeah.
grief, and usually the guilt, like, oh my God, what could I possibly done to stop that? But you know what? Nothing.
No.
I think once someone makes a decision, that's on them. And look, we've got people that, like my son, go out just to go to the store and run an errand and see somebody and never come home. And a lot of us don't get an opportunity to say goodbye to them either, because it's a sudden death. So I think sudden deaths all round, no matter how the person did it, are hard to cope with, because you haven't had opportunity to make sure you said I love you, or
Or give your
things like
goodbyes
that.
or your peace, or come
Yeah,
to accept it, I
yeah,
guess, because if it's so sudden, it's like it hits you like a bow and arrow kind of does, to where you're like, whoa, and it'll take you some time to get over that.
yeah. I know, and I'm just gonna. That was the other thing that I came across too. And again, sorry for telling you my stories, but it's the only way I can relate. While I was doing this, I actually ran into some information that helped me. Right, so I hadn't really thought of my son's death in this instance, like a life after death or whatever. Like, my son died, something happened to me the night he died, and that is what was driving me crazy, because I knew it wasn't normal. But in doing the research for this, Dr. Fenwick discussed when people that have lost someone close to them and not been story of one lady who was Australian, actually. Her son was in the Navy in the UK. He was in the UK at the time. She went to bed one night. She was asleep. As she got woken up for whatever reason, she said she saw a strange sort of a mist at the end of her bed, and she saw her son standing there, dripping wet. And she's like, "What's going on? I'm okay, Mum. Don't worry." Blah, 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 blah. But it was obviously back in the day when this story occurred that you didn't have mobile phones. It must have just been she had to wait to the next morning to ring and talk to her son. She tried to talk to us time when she saw that vision. He had drowned. He'd fallen out of whatever, and that's why he was dripping wet in her vision, she guesses, but he died. So that was her visitation. Then he said that happens a lot. People will see things. Instance, I wondered, because he said it can work differently. It often comes across as a vision or a dream, that someone comes to you and you'll wake up, oh God, something bad's happened or whatever, and then it's confirmed. But he said it's different if you're awake at the time of someone's death. And I went, how so? So I'll tell you what happened to me. Yes, thank you, Wendy, because I did, and I'll tell you why. When my son died, the night he died, it was 7:20 p.m. when he died. How do I know this? Because that's what I got told the next day. Okay, but at the time he died, I didn't know he died. I didn't. Just watching TV, and a wash over me of something that I cannot explain properly in words, but deep depression, despair, upset. I cried, and the words that kept coming out of my mouth were, "There's no tomorrow. Oh my God, there's no tomorrow." And my partner at the time was sitting next to me, and he said, "What the hell are you on about?" And I kept saying it and looking and then crying, and I'm like, "Oh my God." I said, "Is this what depression is? This is hard. Why am I feeling like this?" And then I cried. I said, "Oh, I've got to go to bed." Morning, and I was fine. And I thought that was the weirdest thing last night. I got a phone call from my eldest son who told me about Stephen's death and that he was killed. He was in a car accident. His car was hit by a truck. Time of death, 20 past 7 p.m., the same time that feeling washed over me. And when I was looking at his research, he said that in talking to a lot of people that have been awake at the time they've lost a loved one, very similar to what I experienced, they've experienced. Different stories, different feelings, but feelings that they can't explain. And then they later find out that the person that they love, he said, it's like a tether. It's generally the person who's dying has a tether or a connection to the person they visit. So in my instance, that's my baby boy. That was the tether, and he was trying to, I was feeling what he was feeling. That's how I feel about it. So in doing this research, I believe that because I can't to this day. And that's what got me. I cannot explain it other than, and thankfully, I've seen his research, and that does make sense that in some way in his death, he's oh, mum, I've got to let mum know. He let me know. I just didn't know until the next morning. I knew something horrible had happened. I felt something horrible, but I didn't understand. Next morning, obviously, I did. But so it is really weird. That's all I can say. So there's something about death and dying, people. If I ever experience a near death anything, I'll let you know. But
I didn't have because I lost both. I lost my mom about 20 years ago, and then I lost my dad. It's gonna be 4 years. With my mom, she had cancer, so I already knew. I knew the day before that she was gonna go, so I didn't have that. I didn't get that signal that like you had, so I already knew she was gonna pass. But I remember that day coming home. Um, I remember that day coming home. And just walking into to my parents' empty room, like you could feel this heaviness, and I will never forget that heaviness. And I always explain it. It's like death was trying to find my mom to I mean, as bad as death sounds, but was trying to find my mom to take her to, the afterlife. And it that heaviness I will never forget um is what I had with my mom. With my dad, um I wasn't planning on visiting the day that I had visited him. It was gonna be the next day, but something had told me, "Go today, go today." So I called off work. I went that day, told my dad was not my dad anymore at that point. He was just, he wasn't awake, he wasn't aware of anything, he was just in the bed. They had told us, my stepmom wanted him home, basically to live out his life. And I had told my dad, I know, because that was not my dad. And I told my dad, I go, "Dad, I'll be fine. If you have to go, go." Um, and the next day, my stepmom called me and said, your father had passed away. And so I'm glad that I went the day before, whatever, for whatever reason, I had that feeling that I had to go the day before and kind of make my peace. So, and I was able to make my peace.
And maybe that was, as you say, your dad was unconscious, like he was in bed. Maybe that was your dad
Yeah,
saying, come and see,
come and see me
you know,
when.
and that was that tether, that draw. Like there's that one person he still needed to see, and that's what overwhelmed you and got you to go there. And you know, that happens a lot. G is one of the ladies in chat, works in hospice. Sometimes people are to the point where they're unconscious, but holding on, and you think, how can they still be here? And there will generally be some unfinished business, someone that they haven't been able to see. And look, be it right or be it wrong, and I'm sure once they got to the other side, they realised I'd told them a fib. On two occasions, I have realised that that's why this person is holding on, because they're wanting to see someone. In one instance, it was a man I looked after who he wanted to see his son. That's what he was holding on for. But his son wasn't going to come. Like, the son had already made it clear to the family he had no interest, didn't want to see his father,
Wow.
whatever. So I spoke to the wife, and I said, do you want me to say, I said, I can say that he's phoned and that he's giving his apologies, he can't get here. And she said, would you do that? And I said, well, it is a lie, but because the family were so upset. And I said, okay. So I did. So be it right or be it wrong, I did. I came in and I took his hand and called him by name and said, I just got off the phone with his son's name. He wants me to tell you that he loves you and he's really, really sorry, but he can't get here. He's unable to get here, but he wants me to tell you that he loves you. The man died that night. So actually within about 4 hours, the man passed away. Did I feel guilty for telling him a lie, and will I be caught out for it? Probably, because when he did die, he probably got to heaven and realised, oh, she told me a lie. But I knew that his son wasn't going to come. And then years later, there was another lady that I absolutely adored, and she had also a son who didn't want anything to do with her.
That's sad.
And she was holding on, waiting for him, and I knew she was. And I spoke to her son, who did come all the time, and I said, oh, she'd be holding out, waiting. And she was in agony, even with all the drugs. She was unconscious, but her body, there were obvious signs of pain, even though she was unconscious. So I did. So do I feel guilty? Yes, I do, for telling people fibs. But it gave them peace to think that the one person that they were holding on to see did love them. And I'm sure, to be quite honest, I'm sure even though those children didn't want to see their parents,
deep down,
I'm sure they did deep down love. I mean, my mum was an absolute total bee, and sometimes I just didn't like her. But when she died, of course I was upset. And even now I look back on that and think, oh, look, she did the best she could.
It could have been too, like,
You know,
they don't want to see their parents in that state. So that could be a reason why they didn't want to see their mom or dad in that situation, which I don't blame them. That's a hard situation to see your loved one in. I don't want to ever experience that again or have anybody see anything like that. So I understand.
we probably will, though.
Yeah,
We probably
we
will.
will.
I mean, that's life and death. You know, it happens, and I just think I just don't wish anybody to lose a child, because it's bad enough to lose anybody, but to lose a child, it's not normal. Your children shouldn't go before you. Carol, yeah, there can be. You know, some people die peacefully and they're just asleep. Some people are awake and take a final breath, and it's like, normally they'll take a final breath and don't breathe out, which is interesting to me. Whenever I've been with someone when they've passed away, it's like their body's just gone, come on, one more time. And then that's it. They don't even breathe out. It's weird. But anyway, that is. Now, someone was telling us something. Where's it gone? I think Joanne. And Joanne's saying on the night that her sister died, she was at work and all of a sudden a wave washed over her like a weight being lifted. Then a wave of deep sadness. A couple of hours later, I found out. Well, see, and actually interesting, did she die from an illness, Joanne? Like it wasn't sudden, it was illness perhaps, but yeah, exactly. Like, and you're not quite sure why you're feeling these things. What's Chris? Hi, Chris. The morning my mum passed, the phone rang and I knew she was gone. I had told her the night before that she could go and that I would be okay. Yeah, just like Lisa told her dad. I think a lot of times people do hold on because they don't want to leave everyone behind, and but sometimes that's what they need to hear, that it's okay. I'll be okay, and I love you, but I'll be okay. And Lisa, as she said, that's what she had to do for her dad. But death sucks either way, whether or not we go to a nice place. It still sucks that people we love just go, but okay. Yes, that could be it. Like we were discussing before, we don't necessarily want them to do that to themselves, but that is their choice, and that is what brings them peace. And I think honestly, it's mainly religion that's the don't do that. I think on the whole, I think humanity. Or maybe not humanity is the right word. I think out in the cosmos, in the realm of who knows what and where. I think it's just love, and no matter what gets you to the other side, obviously I think maybe people like Ted Bundy, people like that, like serial killers, I think hopefully they might get into a little bit of trouble on the other side. But that's where my hope, like Dr. Fenwick says, that when their life is being replayed, they feel the pain of those that they've hurt. So that gives me something to look forward to in that regard, that if you have actually murdered somebody and you'll feel everything that they felt. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Hi, Creepy Doll. When my daughter died, I didn't have the money to go be with her. I found out she was all alone in the room when she died. Her dad was sleeping in his room. Creepy Doll. How old was she, Creepy Doll? I had a dream a few nights ago that I was able to go back in time and spend time with her while she was healthy. Oh, what a beautiful dream. And don't worry, she wouldn't have been alone. I can tell you now, her dad might have been in the other room and you may have not been able to get to her, but I guarantee somebody came to take her. So you have a think about who might have gone before her that might have been there
and I also believe
she wouldn't have died alone.
You having a dream, Creepy Doll, you having a dream like that is her way of telling you she is okay. Because I've had dreams like that with my mom. Not so much my dad, because I think my dad knows that I kind of every once in a while he'll pop up, but I had more with my mom, and I always took that as even when my friend had passed away, she came and visited me in a dream. So I've always felt that a dream is their way of telling us that they're okay, and letting us know that they're watching over us.
They are, see? And Creepy Doll even said she was 36, by the way. And yeah, I do feel your pain, Creepy Doll, because my boy was 30. See, one of her grandmas would have been there. And like Dr. Deb says, absolutely your daughter would not be happy knowing that her mum is sad, and like Lisa said, she probably, that dream was her way of spending a bit of time with you. And that's the other thing. People say, oh, but why do they come in dreams? You know why? I think they come in dreams so they don't scare the shit out of you. Because if you honestly, it wouldn't matter if I suddenly turned around and saw my son Stephen standing there. I don't know how I'd react. I'd probably get a fright. I'd probably think, oh my God, for a second though, because I long for the day I could see him again and give him a cuddle, But honestly, I think I'd get a fright if you woke. So I think coming to you in a dream state, firstly, is probably the only way they can connect. And that's something else that probably is being researched. Maybe that's the only way they can connect in your dream state. Some people say they see apparitions. I never have seen an apparition. I'd love to, but I never have. But certainly dream state. I reckon that's why creepy doll. I think that's why they come to us in our dreams, because then we won't be scared. And just like Lisa said, her friend came to visit her after she passed. I know I had a cup of tea and biscuits with my grandma after she passed, and it felt like it was real.
Yes.
It's a different kind of dream. Yeah. Did you find that too, Lisa? Your dream with your friend or your mum was more like it was real when you wake up?
It was real, but then especially with my friend, because I have a thing where I didn't when my dad passed away, I didn't go visit him because I don't it's my preference because I don't want to remember them that way. And also too, they asked me, my dad had stayed all night with my mom, but I didn't. And they were like, "Why weren't you there? Why weren't you there?" And I was like, "I don't want to watch my mom die. I don't want to." And I didn't go to my friend's funeral because it was an open casket, and I told them why. And I always felt bad, and I told them why. I was like, "I don't want to remember her that way. I want to remember her how she was before she passed. I don't want to remember like with my mom. I don't want to remember her how she was before she passed too. I want to remember her as when I was growing up, or same thing with my friend." So I always had that guilt about it that, oh, I should have gone, I should have, gave in and just gone and showed my respect. But that dream, I knew when I had that dream, I knew that she understood why I didn't go and that she accepted me, and I've been at peace ever since with it.
Yeah. And I like that. That's the same. Like when my son died, I did go. He couldn't have an open casket because of the injuries, but I had to see him. I had to touch him. I had to know that he was really gone. It was actually for me. I kind of said no. Maybe someone had his car. Maybe it wasn't him, and you think it's him because someone borrowed his car. Like these are the things that you argue within your head. It was him. But he had a closed casket because we had to. He had to. But having said that, would I have preferred not to have seen him and remembered him the way he was? For me, no. I needed to see him. I needed to actually physically touch him and know that absolutely he's gone. No one's lying to me. But I have been to funerals of family members, and I've not wanted to go for the exact same reason you have, that I would prefer to just remember them the way they were. I had a friend who took his own life. I could have gone to the funeral, but I didn't want to because it would bring up like there's sometimes I'm not very good with funerals. I find them, I don't know, just a reminder. It makes me even sadder. I don't know. A good Irish wedding, a good Irish wake's better, I think, where they play music and get drunk.
or a celebration of life. Those are a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hi, Jalissa. Hi, Jalissa. So, yeah. There you go, Jalissa. But yeah, so I don't know. Have you got anything there that you did want to share, or have we discussed it all? What do you reckon?
I think we went down a rabbit hole, but I think we kind of did a good discussion on your side, because your research was probably a little more in depth than my research, but it was pretty much the same.
Pretty much the same. Yeah. And that's what I mean. And for anyone who's interested, there's a hell of a lot. I'll show his picture again. And for those of you who got in late, So this is Dr. Fenwick. I will put the link to this particular episode in the description. Once I get off the live, I'll put the link to this episode in the description if you're interested in what he's got to say. He does TED Talks as well, but this particular interview goes for an hour. I've watched it twice now. Once when my son passed away, so a few years ago now, and then once again I watched it the day before yesterday to refresh. He says some pretty damn interesting things that if you have lost somebody, or even if you're not well and you might be, on your way out, it gives you. It made me feel comfortable. It made me think, and it's. I don't know. As I say, I don't think I'm scared of dying.
I used to be when I was younger.
Yeah, and how I died.
But when something clicked. I think maybe I became more aware, more understanding of the spiritual side of things, because I've always been drawn. I was more of a spiritualist. I was always drawn to like more spiritual type of things than I was with like say Catholicism or Christianity per se. But
yeah, me too.
But I don't know. I think something all of a sudden just hit, and I just became at peace with it, and it just went away. Like I was like, you know what? I'm not afraid anymore. But I can't explain why. It just maybe I have more of an understanding of it, maybe, and that's why I'm not scared of it anymore. But I remember when I was little, I was like dead afraid of it.
Yeah, and I must admit, when I was younger, I was too. I thought, I just sort of thought to myself, if ever I'd go to the doctor and the doctor would say, we better test for that, I'd be petrified. Like, oh my God, what if I die? Now, like even being told, you've got cancer of the thyroid, blah, blah, blah. It's actually the research I've done on that. It's nothing to worry about, right? If I had to let it go forever, sure, but it's nothing to worry about. But if down the track, a few years down the track or something, or if I get put under and for whatever reason I do die under anaesthetic, can happen. Am I worried? No. I'd be more annoyed because I think, oh shit, I didn't leave a folder with all my passwords, my banking information. I'd be more, oh my God, how are they going to know the password to my banking? Oh no, what about my YouTube channel? People will have to tell people on the YouTube I died. Like I'd be on the other side going, no, send me back. There's too much to
I'd
fix.
be doing the same thing. I'd be like, I still have a lot to do. Like, send me back.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not scared anymore. I used to be, but I'm not scared. And as I say, my son's done it. If he can do it, so can I. I'm more scared about how I go, I think. That would be more the thing. And then I thought, well, so long as it's not gruesome, maybe. But even when it is gruesome, I think it's quick. I don't know. But what do you say? Oh, hello, Brandon. Look, Lisa. Bernadette was in here.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you. Brandon's gorgeous. Look, I made Brandon a moderator on my channel too. He's a lucky boy. Yeah, I actually, have you seen that too, where they did? Someone passed away, and they literally weighed the person while they were alive, and then once they had died, and so that's where they got the 21 grams from. I'm going to look into that actually, Dee, because I do vaguely recall someone saying there was something wrong with that experiment, so I want to look into that and see what it was. Oh, by the way, I did put the link to that episode I'm talking about there in the chat, but as I say, I will put it in the description below. Oh yeah, see, look, Brandon's in. Support Lisa with Cash App.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, good on you. Oh dear, yeah, and look, I love Lisa. I think she's fantastic. And for anyone who hasn't seen her channel, go over and check it out. I pinned her channel to the comments on above the chat there, and watch her stuff. I love it. I love listening to her, because it's the other thing I can do sometimes with you, Lisa, is if I'm the amount of times you've been on and I'm listening to you, but I'm doing research as well, and then I'll glance over and go, oh, what's that she said? Oh yeah, cool. And then I'm back and I'm still listening. But yeah, you're good for my research. You keep me occupied. But yeah, I love Lisa, and I hope we can do this again, Lisa. This is
I had fun. This is fun. This is super fun.
Maybe
we went down a rabbit hole, mind you, but hey, it was still fun.
We did a little bit, but it's good. The other thing I find, and you probably do, Lisa, when you're doing a live, is a lot of times, depending upon the subject matter, like in this case, we had a few people share their stories, and Creepy Doll, that was a very they're personal stories. Like, we look at people's names and we see, like, Creepy Doll, her name could be Janet or whatever. Do you know what? We don't see their names. We don't necessarily know who they are, but everybody has a story to tell, and it's always good to remember that the people in the chat, in your chat too, you always have the same regular people that pop in. I generally do as well, and you get to know them. So going forward, when Creepy Doll turns up in my chat, I'll remember that. I won't forget that. We're kindred spirits. We've lost a child. So, you remember these things, and you get to know a lot of times what some of your regulars are going through, which was also interesting. You sort of think, oh, wow, they're going through that at the moment and they need support. So that's where, like, Lisa's community is really good. Lewis's community, is really good. Oh, and Brandon, I saw you on Popcorn Planet. You're a star. But yeah, for all of us, I think for Lewis, for Lisa, for me, oh, hey, Enzo. Enzo, my co-host for Sundays or Saturday nights. It's about community, our channels, and Lisa's is the same. And at the end of the day, I'm happy when people
we're like
come
a big family, as I always say it.
We
We're like a big family.
We are. And a lot of people, and I'm happy to share my experiences, because I hope that my experiences might help someone. And like Lisa, she just shared her experiences about her friend and her mum and her dad, which is highly personal, but it might help someone else. You never know what it is that you say that someone else in the chat or in the community is thinking, oh God, it only happens to me, when it probably doesn't. In fact, it probably doesn't. And sometimes we lose people in the chat because what we might be speaking about might trigger them and get them upset. So that's okay if they go and leave the chat.
I understand. I get it.
Yeah, they're not emotionally able to cope with what they're hearing at the time, which is fine, obviously, so yeah. Oh, thanks, Lisa. Thank you. That's a nice thing to say. You need to go and check out Lisa's channel. And Enzo, I guess we can wrap it up now. Can we, Lisa?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah.
What do you?
We're good.
Yeah, I think so. Besides, what time is it where you are now?
What was that,
Lisa? What's the time where you are at the moment?
It is 7:19 p.m. on Thursday here in SoCal.
Oh, there you go. Oh, not too late. See, not too late.
Not too late.
Yeah. Wendy, have a look at the chat box, and it's pinned up the top. Let me know that you can see it. If you can't, I'll find it again. But it's on the chat box that you're chatting in. If you look up the top, there'll be a pinned comment, and that's the link to Lisa's channel. Let me know if you can't see it. And Enzo will be back. I'm assuming, yes, Enzo, you'll be back with me on Saturday/Sunday morning for Australia. There's lots that I want to talk to Enzo about. He went to something called Contact in the Desert. Is that what it was called, Enzo? UFOs
Oh, cool.
stuff, Lisa. UFOs.
That's cool.
Yes, I don't know if he got abducted while he was there, but he's back, so he must be fine. Yes, he'll be back, says Enzo.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, guys, just hang with me for a minute when I end it, Lisa, so I can say goodbye properly. And if you're just tuning in, and B, so you managed to see it, that is fantastic.
Oh,
And
awesome
for
to
anyone
hear.
who's gotten in late and you want to rewatch, yeah, go ahead. It's not too, an hour and 20 minutes, okay. But it's not. If you want to listen while you cook or something, go back and rewatch. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you haven't. That'd be helpful. And please, please, please check out Lisa's channel, because she is very much like I am. We very much think along the same lines and do similar things. And one day she'll get out to investigate something.
One day.
Maybe even one day I'll come up there. We'll go together. We'll go together. We could take Lewis as our security.
Yeah, yes. He'll probably be more. He'll be more scared than we are.
And we could even get Brandon and Bernadette to come along. It could be Brandon.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So that's something to plan for. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this was informative. And I will put a link to some of the videos that I watched for my research. I will put that in the description so that you can go and have a look at those that I go down. Thank you for watching, and